Hey everyone, in this tutorial we're going to take a look at how you can import facial bone characters via FBX format into iClone 5.4 for use with the iClone animation tools, facial animation tools. Alright, so here on the screen in iClone here we have our first G5 game bone character. This is very similar to the regular iClone characters, except his bone structure is fairly simplified. It's optimized for use with game engines. So let's take a look at the performance of this character. So we'll go into the animation tab here in facial animation. I'm going to open up the puppet tool here. And you can see there's a number of different profiles here. This is his custom profiles that he comes with. You can notice there's a bit of a difference between the way that facial bone characters and facial morph characters animate. Since the G5 facial bone models are a bit simplified as far as facial bones go, you can probably get a bit more detail out of facial morph characters. You can see there's a number of different profiles here. You can also utilize any of the other iClone profiles as well. For example, Chuck is a very normal one. Use the Chuck Scared. There you go. It's a little bit not really as expressive as the normal profiles that come with this model, but okay, we'll just go ahead and record one of these, for example. Maybe this one here. Looks a little bit sad, but we'll go ahead and record that. You can see the auto blinking effect as well. Alright, so after we record that, I'm going to layer on top of that, show you another capability of characters with facial bones. I'm going to select the, I'm going to open up a vocal track here. And we're just going to open up this one here.
No, of course not. I would never say such a thing. No, I think this is all just a big misunderstanding, you see?
Alright, so you can see the lip syncing in effect as well as the facial puppet. We created a pretty cool animation in just a couple minutes there. In addition, if you want to go into further detail, you can go into the actor tab and you can adjust the auto blink settings to nervous or speechless. They all have different frequency and different speeds. As well, if you have the eye bones mapped in your model, you can choose the look at feature as well. So if I select look at cam, for example, my model will look at the camera. I can rotate around and see him follow along with the camera there. Alright, so we'll remove the animation for now. And what we want to do right now is I'm going to actually take the FBX version of this character and bring him into 3DXchange to show you how the procedure that you need to go through to bring your character into iClone. So I'm going to load this FBX into 3DXchange here. And once we load this up, you'll see the first step we're going to take is we want to select Convert to Non-Standard. And that'll bring us to the bone mapping process here. So Convert to Non-Standard in the Modify panel on the right here. And you'll see I need to map all the bones, which for this character will be a snap because we have a preset for my Human IK characters. So there we go. Just use that preset and everything's pretty much mapped. Now there's a bit more mapping to do for this model since it doesn't have any blend shapes for the face. We need to do some extra mapping for the face. So I'm going to select Active here. For this tutorial we're not going to go into floor contact. We can go into the properties. You can adjust the feet offset, all the bones of the characters as well. For example, if I change the hip offset to 0, I'll give a bit more of an upright stance there. And you can change the offset of the feet as well if you'd like. We'll just leave that for now. We'll go into the facial and extended mapping. So there's a little bit more mapping involved with facial bone characters as opposed to facial morph characters. For example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my model's eye here, which I think is this bone right here. Yep, there we go. Normally you'll want to select, with facial bone characters, you'll want to select from the hierarchy on the left to avoid selecting the wrong item. But I have my left eye selected. I'm going to choose Map to Left Eye here. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing with the right eye. So we're going to find the right eye in the hierarchy here. We're going to select Map to Right Eye. Now for this model we also need to map his jawbone, which I believe is this bone right here. We want to use the jaw root, and we'll just map that to the jaw. Alright, and there's one more thing we need to map, which is the eyelids, which we're going to use for the eyelids for the auto blink feature. So let me select my upper eyelid on the left here. I'm going to map that to the upper eyelid auto blink there. Alright, and then select my lower eyelid. And after we do that, we'll go over here to auto blink settings. And we'll go into our left eye tab, select our left upper lid, and then set to lower eyelid. Right, we'll just do the same thing quickly for the right eye there. Map to upper eyelid. Select this one, and go to the right eye tab, and we map that to the lower eyelid for the right side. Alright, so pretty much our facial mapping is all taken care of right there. So we can just go to convert now. Alright, now we don't want to apply to iClone just yet. We want to go into the expression editor first. And we're going to actually edit some of this guy's expressions here. So you can see, of course, there's a number of different tabs in the expression editor. If I just scroll over here, I'll give myself a little bit more room. You can see that in the head tab, I select upward, downward, leftward, rightward profiles. Those are all preset since my bones have already been mapped. You can further adjust those if you want by selecting it and rotating it. If I want to go further downward, I can use the E hotkey and rotate it further downward. I'll just go into the eye tab for now since those are all set. And since I've already mapped the eye bones here, I'm going to select the rightward profile and rotate my eyes to the right. It'll automatically select those, rotate them to the left, and downward, and upward. So as my eye movement all set already. Now notice here that I have this auto apply setting. So if I have this auto apply option selected, basically every time I adjust a profile, it'll keep that. If I don't want that, I can turn that off. And if I adjust my profile, I have to select the set button after every different profile. I'll just save time though, and I'll use the auto apply for this tutorial. So I'm going to go to the jaw section next. Now there's a difference between mapping the jaw for the morph based character and the bone characters. With the bone characters, you actually have to physically move the jaw here as opposed to using blend shapes. So I'm going to select the jaw bone here and drop jaw. This is the furthest down you'll get, so I'll just use the W hotkey and move it down, and you can see that's my character's mouth wide open. Leftward, I can move it leftward. Rightward, I can move it to the right. Alright, and then it'll pretty much set all these other profiles as well for facial or for jaw movement. We can just move on to the Visami tab here. Now in Visami, for facial bone characters, it's a little bit more complicated. Whereas with morph characters, you can just adjust the blend shape sliders. With the facial bone characters, you actually have to physically go in and adjust the facial shape with the bones. So for example, if I wanted the E shape, I can maybe like lower his jaw a little bit, maybe bring back the sides of his mouth a little bit as well. Like E. There we go. Bring back his mustache bones. There we go. So that's kind of like an E. I'm not a professional at creating Visami shapes, but maybe I'll give you another example here. If we do a Woo, I maybe want to raise his jawbone a little bit. Just like the upper jawbone. We want to bring these side bones in here a little bit. So as you can see, this will take a little bit more time as opposed to just simply adjusting blend shapes. Ooh. Want to give his lips a woo looking shape. Okay, kind of looks like a woo. If you want, we can decrease the bone size to get a better view of it, so you can see kind of like a woo shape. I'm not going to adjust all these Visami profiles here, since that'll take quite a while. We'll move on directly to the muscle tab now. The muscle section is fairly similar to the Visami tab. What we need to do here is, for example, if you select the brow raise inner left profile, oops, let's bring those bone sides up a little bit, I can't even see them. So brow raise inner left, we'll select the inner left bone on the eyebrow there and just raise that. Brow raise inner right, we can do the same thing with the right eyebrow. And brow raise outer left. And you can just continue on with this. I'm not going to do too many profiles. I'm not going to do too many profiles for this character since we already have the eye avatar. But what I'm going to do is go to the custom tab. I'm going to show you something really cool. In the custom tab, there's a number of different custom groups, and these each correspond with different profiles within the facial puppet tool in iClone. And what you need to do is for each one of these mouse movements, you need to create a different facial expression. So I'm going to select the upward one, and we can just go ahead and go wild and kind of create our own goofy looking expressions. We can kind of Make this guy really disappointed looking, bring down his eyebrows. He looks like he says, "Don't mess with me." Kind of maybe give him a bit more of a frown. Bring his mustache bones down a little bit. Even bring his mouth forward. There we go. He looks disappointed enough. At right where maybe we can do something a little bit happier. You can bring those mustache bones up. Of course, if you hold the Alt key and right click, you can rotate around to make sure you're not doing anything too extreme. Maybe raise his cheeks a little bit as well. So you can see the quite a big difference from this one and the previous one. So that'll create quite an interesting blend in my model. You can also do a downward one. Whoops. And this is just a matter of, fooling around with your with the facial bones that your model does have. All right, there we go. So we have all these four different profiles here. I want to see those in action in iClone, so I'm just going to close down our expression editor now. And what we need to do now is actually apply to iClone. And so that'll replace our model with the hair and the hat. That'll replace them with the bald version of the character. You can see he lost all his hair here. We can go ahead and test out, make sure there's no animations on this model right now. Remove animation. We can test out the puppet profile that I just created there by going into the facial puppet tool, and you can see that I'll choose a number one. I've only set one profile, so we'll just do that in preview. And you can see with my mouse movement, there's my disappointed mouse movement, and then the sad one, and there's a suspicious one and the happy one. So you can see they blend together and create some pretty interesting expressions. You can see with this upward one, my eye movement is quite far up. And maybe I don't want it to be that far up. So what I want to do is I can go into this edit property section here in my puppet tool, and there's profiles, there's values for the eye movements. So for example, if I wanted my right eye movement to be a little bit restricted, right eye and left eye, we can set that to 50. And now the preview again, I'm going to close this down. We'll preview one more time, and we'll see the difference that makes. So this time when I go up, you can see it doesn't go as far into his head. It kind of just, the eye is kind of set below the eyelid. There's a little bit less eye movement. As well, if you want to go into more detail, you can also press the F2 key once you're in this window, and press the F2 key, and you can further set individual positions and individual limits values for each one of your features. All right, so for example, if you wanted your lips to drop even further down, you can set higher values for the Y values here, or the nose scrunch you want it to be more extreme. You can set that as well. I won't do that in this tutorial. You can fool around with that yourself. It's kind of a custom setting within iClone. So yeah, that's basically it. That's how you can import your facial bone characters into iClone 5.4 and use all the cool real-time animation tools. So if you're interested in other types of characters, you can check out our how to import facial morph characters as well as hybrid characters, which include facial bones and facial blend shapes. You can check out those tutorials as well. Characters animate. Since the G5 facial bone models are a bit simplified as far as facial bones go, you can probably get a bit more detail out of facial morph characters. You can see there's a number of different profiles here. You can also utilize any of the other iClone profiles as well. For example, Chuck is a very normal one. Use the Chuck Scared. There you go. It's a little bit not really as expressive as the normal profiles that come with this model, but okay, we'll just go ahead and record one of these, for example. Maybe this one here. Looks a little bit sad, but we'll go ahead and record that. You can see the auto blinking effect as well. Alright, so after we record that, I'm going to layer on top of that, show you another capability of characters with facial bones. I'm going to select I'm going to open up a vocal track here. And we're just going to open up this one here.
No, of course not. I would never say such a thing. No, I think this is all just a big misunderstanding, you see?
Alright, so you can see the lip syncing in effect as well as the facial puppet. We created a pretty cool animation in just a couple minutes there. In addition, if you want to go into further detail, you can go into the actor tab and you can adjust the auto blink settings to nervous or speechless. They all have different frequencies. It's very similar to the regular iClone characters, except his bone structure is fairly simplified. It's optimized for use with game engines. So let's take a look at the performance of this character. So we'll go into the animation tab here in facial animation. I'm going to open up the puppet tool here. And you can see there's a number of different profiles here. This is his custom profiles that he comes with. You can notice there's a bit of a difference between the way that facial bone characters and facial morph characters. Hey everyone, in this tutorial we're going to take a look at how you can import facial bone characters via FBX format into iClone 5.4 for use with the iClone animation tools, facial animation tools. Alright, so here on the screen in iClone here we have our first G5 game bone character.